Aston Villa 3, Club Brugge 0. I'm going to give you my thoughts on this match as a Manchester United fan who did enjoy this match because I'm a big Marcus Rashford fan, and it's so nice to see him playing football, enjoying his football, playing well. And some of the things he did today, he did at Manchester United, but our own fans wouldn't give him credit for that. Some Man United fans claim that Marcus Rashford is selfish, but he was actually a very good creator at United. We just couldn't finish. And all of a sudden, he's creating chances for Asensio, who's finishing, and he's getting those assists. But look, I always thought Villa were going to win. They did enough in the first leg. The red card helped them today. They were unbelievable in the second half. But what makes me jealous about Aston Villa is the squad there. This was their starting 11, by the way. Very good starting 11. You know, Morgan Rogers, one of the best players right now. Marcus Rashford, massive fan of him. Watkins, one of the most prolific players. Konsa and Mings, very solid defensive partnership. You've got Maatsen as the World Cup winner. Camera, top player, obviously had injury issues. Tielemans, this season has been unbelievable. Tielemans, you know, his technical ability is good. Matt Cash is solid. Maatsen, yeah, decent going forward. But then they had a bench. Like, look at this on the bench. Bear in mind, like, I'm a Man United fan. I don't know if you've seen our bench. Like, we've obviously half our team's injured and we let Rashford go. We didn't replace him because we're silly. But Disasi starts for Manchester United. Pau Torres starts for Manchester United. Asensio starts for Manchester United. Leon Bailey probably starts for Manchester United. And Jacob Ramsey would probably start for Manchester United. Luca Digne would probably start for Manchester United because Dorgu's suspended and he's a bit more experienced. Amadou Onana would walk into that Manchester United lineup. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 7 players on the Villa bench that would walk into my team's lineup. Now, we are 14th. I think you guys are 7th. But I was just looking at Villa and I said the quality they have on the bench, because Jacob Ramsey's a top player. Amadou Onana is an absolute athletic dual-winning monster. Digne is a good player. Bailey, I thought he was good last season. He's been hit and miss this season. Pau Torres, decent centre-back. Disasi, I know Chelsea fans give him stick, but decent centre-back. Villa have depth. And I always say with European competition, now I'm not saying that Villa are going to win the Champions League. That would be quite cool, you know. Real Madrid had just beaten Atleti. I was watching penalties before filming this, by the way. The luck they get with a Julian Alvarez double penalty, you know, you'd have to play PSG and then you'd probably have to play Real Madrid, unless Arsenal beat Real Madrid. But I don't see that happening. Real Madrid seems to just have that kind of luck. But what I was trying to say is the depth is so important. When you get into the Champions League, the second half of the season, this is when depth shows. This is when you see the importance of squad depth, because Liverpool are starting to tire a bit, and I think you could see that with the PSG game and stuff. But when Villa can bring on Asensio at half-time, they can bring Jacob Ramsey on. You know, if Morgan Rogers didn't start, he could come on. Amadou Onana can come on. When you're playing in the latter stages of the Champions League, a lot of the other teams are going to have injuries. They're going to, you know, be knackered. Villa have, arguably, in my opinion, some of the best squad depth in football. The fact that they've had games where Asensio and Rashford have come off the bench onto the pitch. Now, Asensio and Rashford, for me, have got to start every game. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Marcus Rashford fangirl, but that duo is unbelievable. And do you know what's big about them? The only thing is, I don't know if Asensio can play against PSG in the Champions League. I'll have to check that. But they're big game players. Marcus Rashford, PSG, he's a big game player. So I'm going to get to my notes from this Villa game and give you my thoughts on Villa. But I thought you cooked Club Brugge in the second half, and you now have a huge game versus PSG. I said the winner versus PSG or Liverpool win the Champions League. You know, it's difficult. But what Aston Villa have done is you obviously got automatic qualification in the Champions League. In Europe this season, you've been unbelievable. Premier League's not been as good this season. It doesn't feel like you're going to get Champions League, but it's definitely up for grabs. You could definitely get Europa League. You're still in the FA Cup, you know. But you've been lethal in Europe this season. And you can't rule, you know, PSG bottle job. You can't rule Unai Emery masterclass. Unai Emery is very good in European competitions. And Marcus Rashford loves to goal at the Parc des Princes. In the group stages, he scored versus PSG multiple times. He scored that penalty that when Man United knocked PSG out. Marcus Rashford, you know, some Man United fans overhate on him, and I do not get why some Man United fans dislike Marcus Rashford, because even when he was bad for us, and he's had dips and form, he'd score versus Arsenal, he'd score versus City. Marcus Rashford, and I'll tell you this now, I know he's not scored for Villa, but he's a big game player. He loves to go against the PSG and Liverpool. If you give Rashford space to run in behind, he can be lethal. Asensio, proper scorer, big game player. You know, PSG are favourites. PSG are unbelievable. They beat Liverpool. But I think Villa and Unai Emery will make it difficult. I think you're going to sit back. I think you're going to hit them on the break. I think Donnarumma could save some penalties, but PSG are vulnerable. And I think Villa could cause some problems. And when you've got Rashford and Asensio, and then you could have players like Ramsey, Marlon and Bailey on the bench, that gives some top squad depth. Even players like Amadou Onana, Digne on your bench today. I think Villa's squad is better than they get credit for, the depth. I think what Villa had done, bringing in Rashford, bringing in Asensio, bringing in Marlon, all in one window. It's given them this incredible depth for the latter stages of the Champions League. And as a Marcus Rashford fan girl, I will be supporting Villa versus PSG. And Unai Emery, good record in Europe, good at adapting tactics, one-off game. I think PSG will win it. Real Madrid are always going to be favourites, but I think PSG are better than Real Madrid. Real Madrid were lucky to beat Atleti. They just had that luck, have that juju. Liverpool played Real Madrid off the park in the group stages. PSG, for me, are the best team. And I think that Villa are going to make it difficult for PSG. I really think Villa are going to surprise PSG. And while Konsa and Mings were good today, I think they're a solid pairing. I'd say, would you say Villa's best centre-back pairing? I mean, I like the Mings had injury issues. I think Konsa's a top player. But Villa cruised the game. They did the job in the first leg. The sending off helped, but the second half, particularly the second half of the second leg was fantastic. Marcus Rashford, it's so good to see him when he gets the ball, be a threat, want the ball, looking happy playing football. And all Villa fans can do is get behind Marcus Rashford. He's a confidence player. And if you get behind him and he's happy, you see the best of Marcus Rashford, and you're seeing that. All you got to do is make Marcus Rashford feel loved. That's what I'll say. Asensio coming on. Brugge had to attack in that open up space, which helped. Bailey did well when he came on, got the assist, caused issues. Maatsen, I thought, had a very good game. He was probably in my top 3 players today. I thought Maatsen was really good. I think he's sometimes a liability defensively, but going forward, he was such a threat. Good ball carrier. That was the kind of game for him. And as I said here, Marco Asensio, 46 minutes, 24 passes completed, 3 shots on targets, 2 out of 2 tackles, 2 goals, hit the woodwork once, could have got hat-trick day, but it was the runs. He was a constant threat in behind. These were my notes on Asensio. I said his movement in behind / getting into dangerous areas and box runs is really good. Like, he's a constant threat. When it comes to getting in behind, box runs, he is a constant threat. And you've seen it. He's really good at getting in the box, attacking the box, but he's a really good finisher. Because some of the times Marcus Rashford's put good balls into him, but it's a tight angle. He's a good finisher. He's a good box threat. He's pretty lethal in that sense as well. You've also got just Rashford and Asensio in the sense of they seem to be on the same wavelength. They seem to be intelligent players. It's mad to think they never played with each other 2 months ago. But Rashford's there, Asensio's there. It's like Asensio knows where to be when Rashford's got the ball. 7 goals in 5 games, always running in behind, lethal in the box, getting into space, impactful, game winner. I hope he can play versus PSG. I don't know if he will be able to because he's on loan for PSG, but game winner, dangerous. And then you've got Marcus Rashford. Now, Marcus Rashford has always been underrated creatively. Marcus Rashford put so many good balls into the box. I mean, the Liverpool game, he could have got 2 assists when Xerxes missed and we lost 3-0. And people were giving Marcus Rashford stick after that game. As a Manchester United fan, Marcus Rashford hadn't been at his best the last 18 months for us, but he was better than like 5-6 other players on the pitch. But a certain section of the Man United fan base would just blame Rashford for everything. Maybe because he's on higher wages, they expected more. And I was thinking, yeah, Marcus Rashford had a much better game than this player. And he was getting overhated at Manchester United. It really annoyed me. And I think he fell out of love with Manchester United and got toxic. And I think it's good that he's at Villa and in a new environment. But the balls that Marcus Rashford had been putting into the box, he was doing that a little bit at United. But people just don't give him the credit for that. He is a top player, Marcus Rashford. I'll tell you this now. Marcus Rashford, Amad Diallo and Xerxes is our best front 3. I cannot believe we let Rashford go and didn't replace him, even if he fallen out with the manager. I do not believe that he wasn't training hard, and I think that was a load of BS. I think Ineos was forcing him out. But he did so well to win the red card, makes dangerous runs in behind. Marcus Rashford making runs in behind, feeding in good balls, 1v1, and actually putting in crosses is a good player. He's got experience in Europe, he's got experience versus big teams, he's got experience winning trophies, he's good at running in behind, he's good at dribbling, but when he's got the confidence to take his man on, use his pace, he is lethal. Rashford wants the ball, he wants to take his man on, he wants to make things happen. That's what we saw today, and that is the best of Marcus Rashford. He can create, he can score, he gets good goals and assist numbers. He's got a good finish on him, he's got a long shot on him, he's good in the big games. He's a player that needs to feel loved. Marcus Rashford, to be at his best, he needs to feel loved. He needs to feel confident. And I'm glad that Villa are doing that for him. And him and Asensio are linking up. It's good to see. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below, Villa fans. Bye.